So hello Twitch and YouTube, and hello to TikTok, and as always to Discord. So how is everybody doing? Are y'all all doing good today? Please tippity tap the screen, share the live, and we are getting into the white feminist horror that is Hot Feminist by Polly Vernon. If you caught the reading last week, you'll know that I raged at the last chapter, but yeah, I think I've calmed down a little bit now. Yeah, I'm okay. I don't know why the comments, well, the chat is not working on OBS, so I cannot see any comments from YouTube and Twitch. Let's see. Yeah, I can't see any comments on YouTube and Twitch. So if you want to engage from Twitch or anything like that, we have the Discord chat as well. Thank you. I love these kinds. I love olive green. And I love yellow. When I was a kid, I used to say, it's lello. So, we are getting into chapter 3. If you're following along with the book, it is on page 59. And last week, I raged because she was speaking about what she gets offended by and what she gets upset with. Transparent Twitch chat overlay? No, I have not. Maybe I didn't put the VPN on. I'm a silly goose. And now I've lost my train of thought. Train has left the station. Yeah, I will. So last week she was talking about being offended, and I got an unsolicited DM from somebody in another server. I ultimately left that server because I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. And that person, when I said, please ask people consent before you DM them, coming from a server, and he said, sorry if I offended you. And I was like, firstly, that's not an apology. And secondly, no, it's not about offense. It's about consent. And I don't take offense to people not respecting consent. It's just, it's not about offense. I am not offended by it. I am enraged by it. Because you don't understand the basics of consent at your big old age of 35. But yeah, the way she framed being offended by a certain use of language, things that impact people, it showed how the writer's privilege enables them to ignore and to trivialize things that are really important to groups that she is not part of. So we get to chapter 3, Wear the Good Clothes. And this is something that I agree with. Everyone cares about the way they look. And unfortunately, this is the truth. Everyone. Male, female, young, old, clever, not so, shallow, and deep. The ones who say they don't care are probably lying. The ones who try to look like they don't care are really lying because they care enough to make it look like they don't care at all. A double whammy of deceit, self-deceit, and effort. Technically, they care more than those of us who happily admit that we do, that, oh, we care very much indeed. The only people who truly don't care, who've lost even the faintest sense of what their physical appearance means and why tending to it matters, are the ones mired in such emotional or physical distress that even this really quite basic impulse has fallen off their radar. It's one of the last things to go. And this is true. 100% true. When I am in the depths of depression, I don't brush my teeth. I stop taking showers. I don't eat at all. I go sometimes days without having a proper meal. I'll stay in the same clothes for 3 or 4 days. I don't think that anybody. One of the worst things is that I don't even change the sheets, If I'm in the deepest depths of my depression, that is when I really don't care about how I look. As for absolutely everyone else, from the very moment you brush your teeth and your hair, and even go minimal lengths to ensure that today's jeans are not too obviously stained with remnants of yesterday's latte, congratulations, you're in the game. And good for you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with caring about the way you look. We are human beings and there are actually quite a lot of us. 90% of the interaction we enjoy with one another will amount to nothing more than fleeting glimpses, sketchy and speedy impressions we acquire as we zip past each other on the street. This means that most of what we tell most of the world about ourselves will be reported via the medium of our physical appearance. And this is unfortunately true. Our hair, facial expression, clothes. Our clothes, which chatter constantly on our behalf, express and exhort and explain and assert, mitigate, demand, defend, and dramatize. Our personality, essentially. Like with that woman over there who wears hard, bright rings on every finger of both hands because she thinks of them as sexy armor, and sexy armor is precisely what she requires today, for reasons you may speculate over briefly before moving on. The guy who is risking the pink-tailored shorts, finally, because he woke up and thought, fuck it, I just really like them, why the fuck not? The girl with the long hair and the princess demeanor who likes to play it off against some fearsome androgyny in the form of her extensive blazer collection. The other girl with the long hair and the princess demeanor who likes to edge it up with a biker jacket and tattoos. The guy with the socks, the sunglasses, the guy with the hat, the guy with the mint green hoodie, the woman with the vintage print sundress, the Nike swoosh running vest, so intriguingly juxtaposed against that heavy costume jewelry. The heels, flats, trainers, those boots. Did you see those boots? Yeah. Our facial expressions, who's been told they have resting bitch face? Because I've been told that I'm incredibly approachable. But don't cross me. We're all at it, all the time. You can be, but I think when you get to know people, you've got a very warm demeanor, and it shows in your eyes, especially. Justin's got incredibly kind eyes. Yes. You cannot hide what you're feeling with your face. Oh no. I don't know. Grace, I don't know if it's that you're just tired or you're British. Justin has incredibly kind eyes, right from the get-go. Like, the moment they put their camera on for the first time, I was like, those are kind eyes. We're all at it all the time, tipping each other off, telling our stories with t-shirts, piercings, hairdos, and hosiery. Me too. Communicating our hopes and aspirations, our fantasy notions of ourselves, along with some dollops of truth about our backstory, struggles, grief, jollity, wild abandon that we anticipate encountering before the end of the day, and our grateful ceremonial switchover into no bra, tracky bottoms, stretched out jersey, and face cream. It's one of the best things about us, actually, how eager we are to give a good account of ourselves to all those people we'll never speak to, or never even meet. Yes, I love that. I love how we communicate ourselves so beautifully to each other in so many different ways. And I think it's kind of why I don't like the fact that I don't really have a distinct style. And I'll get into the politics of style. I've already written a piece about gatekeeping in goth and emo circles, and how people who've grown up poor, people in poverty, do not get to develop personality through dress or personality through anything that we can communicate outwardly without actually having to speak to somebody, and how that is to our detriment, because that is the expectation, that we communicate ourselves before we even start speaking. Yeah, Michelle, so did I. We couldn't afford to. I bought a pair of Doc Martens when I was in high school. A second-hand pair of Doc Martens. I recently refurbished them, but I couldn't afford new ones. That was 3 months of saving for a very, very beat-up pair of second-hand Doc Martens. Yee. Also, there's this. Every time we get dressed, we play a part in dictating the environment of everyone else. We define their landscape, their view. We are moving architecture, flouncing, swishing, strutting, shambling, running, and breathing wallpaper. We are in this together. No, we're not. We should literally show each other a good time with our outfits. I don't owe that to anyone. To care about what you look like, try and direct how others perceive you, and try and influence what they see for the best, or most surprisingly, the most dramatic or coolest. It isn't stupid. It isn't superficial or intellectually suspect or morally questionable. It's just human. That I agree with. Which is why I have never seen one iota of conflict between being a feminist and caring deeply about clothes. I do know that this isn't a common view. Fashion and feminism have a checkered history. Feminist academics aren't keen, by and large. The mighty, magnificent Germaine Greer isn't, and her 1991 book, The Change, in which she writes, if a woman never lets herself go, how will she ever know how far she might have got? If she never takes off her high-heeled shoes, how will she ever know how fast she could walk or how fast she could run? Mary Wollstonecraft, an 18th century writer, philosopher, and women's rights advocate, said, an air of fashion, which is but a badge of slavery, and proves that the soul has not a strong individual character. Joanne Finkelstein, author of 1991's The Fashion Self, an examination of the way our obsession with physical appearance has impacted our identity, made these points. Fashion has been seen as a device for confining women to an inferior social order because it demands an unequal expenditure of time and money by women on activities which do not attract the professional attention and efforts of men. Yep. And to an extent, I agree with all of them. But I also say, if you want to physically run, it's running shoes. You don't have to take off your heels. Because do we have to conform to maleness in order to be taken seriously? Yep. Oh, I can have an entire discussion just about Mary Shelley. Fashion works to intensify self-absorption and thereby reduce the social, cultural, and intellectual horizons of women. My friend Josie told me that her mother got spat at while attending a feminist rally in the mid-70s by another protester because she was wearing a skirt. On top of which, almost every time I've written any kind of fashion article, interviewed a designer, expressed any sort of interest in a certain catwalk show, offered a checkpoint system of guidance for anyone interested in indulging the formerly hot trend in Ugg boots, or the initially painful transition from bootcut to skinny jeans, or licky-likey high street fashions on Marc Jacobs' sell-out army jacket of the summer of 2002, for any kind of newspaper. I have invariably attracted reader comments of the, "Oh, do fuck off, you stupid woman. Do you not realize wars are being waged and famine is raging in this world?" Let's do it together. Because I think I do have the audiobook. And yes, there are wars raging in this world. One of the biggest wars that we have is against a system that demands that we be like this or like that. And it gets people killed. If I am not gender presenting-y enough. Exactly. And I get this. I hear it. It all makes sense. If you assume women dress to impress and ensnare and arouse and beguile men, to catch a husband, keep him interested, if you subscribe to the idea that fashion serves a singular purpose to prettify the ladies so that the chaps have something lovely on which they might rest their eyes while they take brief pauses from the business of running the world, they don't run the world. They fuck it up. If you assume that women have brains too small to simultaneously entertain an interest in fashion and world politics and or their career progression and or the horror of rape in war and or the issues of quotas for female CEOs on FSTE 100 boards, it makes sense if you deny clothes power. Hi. The power to make the world sit up and notice you and offer you respect because you've nailed an outfit, and by extension you can probably do the other things rather well. I may have a problem with that statement. Let me think it through. How are you doing, Chef? But what if you don't make these assumptions? What if you don't subscribe to this view? What if you, for example, question the basic notion that women dress to attract men? What if you know for a fact that it's infinitely more complex than that women dress for a million different reasons to a million different ends? Oh, yay! I love that. Oh, it's a day. It's a day. I'm a woman, and here's why I dress the way I dress. Sometimes I do it not to impress men, but to terrify them. I love that so much. Yay. I remember you saying that this is what you wanted for this year's. Yes, today is one of the days of the year. We live in a society. Indeed. Sometimes I do dress to terrify men. Sometimes I dress to be slutty. Sometimes I dress because it's cold. What are the reasons you dress the way you dress? Yeah, so sometimes I do it not to impress men, but to terrify them, to confuse and challenge and alarm and destabilize them. And sometimes I do it to impress men. That specific man I'm seeking to impress. But he's gay and has an aesthetic so evolved, I gasp every time he enters the room. I know his entry-level requirements on a well-constructed outfit are considerably higher than those maintained by your average heterosexual male, whose base requirements are indeed often just a pretty base. Just pretty base, making him a much tougher crowd, meaning his approval is particularly gratifying, if secured. Sometimes I dress because I've awoken and been overwhelmed by the certainty that today's the day I'll bump into an ex, and though I am, without question, entirely over it, I still need him to experience a bittersweet pang of regret over the woman he's destined to spend eternity without. And sometimes I dress because I've awoken and been overwhelmed by the certainty that today is the day my path will collide with that of a professional nemesis, and I need her to fall to her knees and quake in the face of my superior fashion vibe. Thank you, lovey.
What?
I hear the kettle on.
No?
Sometimes I want to feel complete that day when I choose something to wear. Yeah. Sometimes when I have a full face of makeup, falsies and everything, full tilt, do a wellness check because I'm not okay. Or I'm going to a costume party. Sometimes I dress because I want to fit in or stand out, dominate, intimidate, amuse, surprise, or subvert. Because I want to rule over a meeting or perk up a funeral congregation or own a reunion or spark some tension at, I don't know, Marks and Spencer, a corporate box at the O2, on a tube carriage. Sometimes I dress to compete with other women, but rarely, if ever, will I be competing with them for the attention of men. Uh-oh, I see the geekiest rules. What happened to your mane? Uh-oh. Sometimes I dress in a way that I know men won't get, won't appreciate, won't understand, won't enjoy, but women will, and that's the point. That dual-purpose conversation. Chicks getting it, men not. And sometimes I do dress to seduce. All out. No excuses. No two ways about it. On Mars. Molly is going live again. Probably. So, oh, okay. The reasons we dress up. Yeah. I don't feel sexy most days. There are some days that I do. sometimes I just don't, I just want function over fashion. And that function is keep me warm if I'm cold, keep me cool if I'm feeling too hot, or just communicate the fact that I don't want to be here. Same, Kiara. Same. Sometimes I dress to impress my nieces, says other E, especially the 3-year-old. I know she only likes me in a skirt. I dress for my shrink, says original E, because I want her to like me. We're working on that, though. Good night. Sweet dreams. Thank you for the tea. You're handsome. I love you. How much attention do you pay to the way other women dress? I asked them both. We're at Sunday morning brunch. I get that. Yes. Yay. I'm glad. Yeah, and it is absolutely valid that, I don't want to be perceived some days, and some days I'm just like, okay, I'm going to dress up to show off my tattoos because I just got a new one. Some days, like, I know I am going to see that person who says that he doesn't like piercings and stuff, and I'm just going to play the fuck out of my piercings just to annoy him at the lunch table. Or, like, I'll put on, like, the most ridiculously out there makeup just to be like, you can't touch me. Why are you even trying? There's a friend of a friend named Brandon. Hey, Jinxie. Let's not go there. I have Brendan and Brandon. Brandon, I want to punch in the throat. Brendan is a gem. But Brandon has a lot to say about everything. Like, ugh. Even things, like, especially things he knows nothing about. Kiara. Yeah, I mean, as usual, I can't reach him, but yeah, I want to punch Brandon in the throat. Like, please stop talking. Forever. Preferably. If I, like, the sooner I'm able to crush your larynx, the better. And he always has an opinion on the way I dress. Like, that's so immodest. And I just, whenever I know that Brandon's going to be around, I'm just like, let me dress to terrify him. Just poke that bear a little bit. As soon as I invent a bug-killing robot, I will not need them at all. An opinion that he says out loud. Like, once he said something about false eyelashes. Because firstly, he was paying enough attention to me to look at my eyelashes. And he's like, women with false eyelashes are just attention seeking. And so I had this entire tirade that I debunked his entire thing. And then I was like, oh, by the way, I'm not wearing false eyelashes. My eyelashes are naturally this pretty. Right? Right now, my eyelashes are touching my glasses. They're really long. But I get the dressing to impress my nephews, because one day I got myself an inflatable dinosaur outfit that didn't quite fit me. It was for them. It was for them. It was for their birthday. But I entered the house in this inflatable dinosaur costume. I get you, Jinxie. Yeah. I was wearing a tracksuit pants and a t-shirt underneath it. I don't care that's how I looked for their birthday. That's how I looked in their birthday photos, that I was wearing a Free Palestine t-shirt and tracksuit pants and flip-flops. I got there in a dinosaur outfit. And that is what mattered. I check out women constantly for fashion, says Original E. More than I check out men for sexy reasons, honestly. What works, what would work on me, how they're dealing with the rain, snow, assorted new trends, blah, blah, blah. Oh, fuck yeah, says Other E. Not because I want them to feel shit, because I want to make sure I keep upping my game. Have you ever felt crap about your own clothes in comparison to the clothes of other women, I ask? Oh, that's an interesting question. Of course, says Original E. Inevitable, innit? But I've also felt really kinda, I don't know, supported by other women dressing well. Eh? It was you as it happens. Eh? Okay, a couple of years ago when I was having a shit time at work, you remember, hated my boss, hated his boss, felt like there might be a little bit of constructive dismissal on the cards for me. Dreaded going in, etc., so I had to go to a colleague's leaving do, and I really didn't want to. I felt like I was going to a viper's nest when the vipers were drinking cheap vodka. And you said you'd come along for backup, even though you didn't know anyone, and I was so grateful. You turned up looking outrageously hot. New boots, hair, obscenely short skirt, and everyone was impressed and totally intimidated by you, and we hung out and looked impervious and ignored the bad people, and I felt strong because I was hanging out with a friend who looked amazing. Oh yeah, I remember, that was cool. Aw, actual power dressing. Why do misogynistic men think we dress for them? Why do men? You can just stop there. Misogynistic men think that we dress for them because they think everything that we do is centered on their attention, their affection, and their being. But even men who are unlearning their misogyny. Is this written as two people having a dialogue? Yes, it is. They think that they have the right to comment on everything, especially things that they know nothing about. Like, hey, if you didn't want to be wolf whistled, why did you dress like that? And that's when I reached into my grocery bag when I was walking home, and I threw an egg at his car. And I said, well, if you didn't want an egg to be thrown at your car, you shouldn't have had a car. These are just a selection of reasons why hot feminists get dressed and why our fashion obsession does not derail our political agenda. Oh, but wait, there's another reason. Hot feminists get dressed, and it's an important one, which that stays the same regardless of all other circumstances and intentions. The one which scotches all other rationale. Thank you. I love you. And the one which means we'll take pains over the getting dressed process for the rest of our lives. Because we like doing it. Because we're good at it. Because there's an art to it and an end to it in itself. because it's creative inherently, because we'll all learn a little bit more every time we do it, because we make mistakes, correct them, and get better at it. And that's as rewarding as the acquiring of and improving on any knowledge or talent or craft. No different to learning how to play the piano or cook great meals or paint pictures or learning French. Getting dressed is a skill. And I agree. Every time I match two colors and I'm like wearing one color on top of another and I'm like, okay, this kind of is a little bit matchy-matchy. How can I break this rule? Wearing this olive top with mustard yellow pants? Yes. How can I change it up a little bit more? Wear it with red shoes. And a very, very colorful handbag. Yes. People are going to look at me and think, oh, what a clown. And then some person is going to look at me and say, how creative. What's the one thing that you keep on? Like, not keep on, like I have my Garmin watch on all the time. I always have a bracelet on this hand. I never take this off. Never, ever, ever take my Palestine necklace off. What's the thing that you keep on all the time that you never take off your body? And number two, what is your signature item of clothing? And why? For both. I never take off my grandma's diamond. That's self-explanatory. It's your grandma's. I get that. Also, it's really hard to take out and put back in. Like, aside from jewelry, is there one thing, that one thing, that is like everybody knows that's you? Converse and Pulse. Yep. That's beautiful. Books. I get that. Oh, crap-a-doodle-doo. I just realized I have a deadline in like a few minutes. Oops. Nah, that's all right. I'll get it. I'll get it done. So mine is my red shoes. My red shoes have become a kind of a staple. Like, in fact, I had them on tonight. Red pair of pumps, and there's a story behind the red pumps. The red pumps started when somebody said to me, this was in high school, this very conservative Christian person said to me, when I was wearing yellow shoes, I had red shoes, I had all sorts of colors, mostly like flats. But like whenever we would have like things after school, like when we would have to get out of our school uniforms and whatnot, I would have different colored shoes. And she said, proper girls wear black shoes. And I said, what's proper? And she went through all of these things of like being subservient and being quiet and docile, and you don't call attention to yourself and all of those kinds of things. And she said, well, and if you wear red shoes, you're a whore. I've been wearing red shoes ever since. Oh, I love Mary Jane's. Oh, Indian people are like, they're so particular about your bra strap not showing on whatever you're wearing. Oh, I'm a whore too, twinsies. Yellow handkerchief with sunflowers. I love that. I absolutely love that. All right. Well, let's see. So today's chapter is not that bad. But let's see, how bad can it get? Okay, chapter 4, a fashion education. I also liked our uniforms because of the Mary Janes. How did I come to think and feel about clothes as I do? How did I wind up conflating the concept of a fashion statement with the concept of a feminist statement? And you know, trial, error, time, a few awful aesthetic incidences. My first conscious attempt at fashion struck me when I was 11 and a founder member of a 4-piece electro-punk girl band called Pink Ice. Oh shush, it was the 80s. I was at primary school. It seemed like an excellent idea at the time. Yeah. We were appalling, I'm pretty sure. I can't sing now, not a note in tune, tone deaf presumably, and I wasn't any better then. If Justine B., Sally A., and Heather M., my bandmates, were any more talented, it never showed. Tellingly, Pink Ice weren't invited to perform at any end-of-term recitals or Christmas talent shows or local gatherings. More tellingly, in a town too small and too far from London to be overwhelmed by a pool of untapped talent, or even a puddle of untapped talent, or even a damp patch of untapped talent, no one tried to tap us. This didn't concern us. Under the influence of the 1980s classic TV series Fame, an adaptation of a book based on the experiences of students at New York School for Performing Arts, all of whom were given to expertly choreographed yet entirely spontaneous musical turns performed on the tabletops of the college canteen of a casual lunchtime. Do track it down and watch it if you haven't already. It's spectacular. We put on our own shows in the playground at playtime, running through our extensive repertoire of 2 songs for anyone who showed any interest. Or was it even just walking past en route to the water fountain? I was Pink Ice's lyricist, the Gary Barlow of our situation. My finest work came in the form of a sort of introductory theme song, the chorus of which ran, pink ice, pink nice, ice is so nice, Aruba, Aruba, cha-cha-cha. I'm so glad I can remember that so very vividly. Has anybody written a song in their teens? The other song was a ballad. Oh, but it's all very well having a band with 2 whole songs and 2 separate, highly, tightly synchronized dance routines, which we did, of course we did. No band is truly a band until it's formulated an associated fashion statement. Morrissey had cardigans and gladioli, and Adam Ant had his cheekbones and antique military garb, and Bucks Fizz had removable skirts. Pink Ice needed a look. A combination of limited funds and a timely screening of the seminal episode of Top of the Pops, featuring a #1 performance by the not dissimilar girl group Toto Colio, whose one-hit wonder I Eat Cannibals was doing swift business in HMVs across the UK at that juncture, led us to decide that belted bin liners were the way forward for us. And that's why Toto, a sort of British precursor to Pussycat Dolls for the uninitiated, who needn't really become initiated, though, I've just discovered, during extensive Wikipediaing of the group and one of its members, Ross Holness, who was the daughter of Blockbusters presenter Bob Holness, and I'm enjoying hugely, did you see? I Eat Cannibals. I eat cannibals. I was in a terrible 90s grunge band. We were called Tasty Tuna. I like that. I remember that song. I don't think I would have remembered it if it wasn't for this. Like, not on my radar at all. But yes, I was in a band in high school called The Stars. And I wrote one song, a grand total of one song. Oh, I really miss it. This was 1998, 99, and we used to play in my friend's garage, and I wrote the song, and I did not know what I was writing about because I had not experienced a thing like that until that stage. And it was just like, the song is silly. I couldn't play guitar to save my life. I have my dad's guitar here, which is 1974. He bought it in 1974. No, earlier than that, 1972. And yeah, it's here. I'm not doing it justice because it's not being played. I wish somebody would play it because it's such a beautiful guitar. It was the edgy one because I'm black. Listen, bassists are cool in their own way. I'm joking. My ex is a bassist. But yeah, I wrote a grand total of one song. I tried to be edgy. My mother just scolded me for stealing her eyeliner. We were provocatively ripped, strategically sellotaped, tightly belted bin liners, and absolutely nothing else appropriate to tie for a bunch of skinny, Devon-accented 11-year-olds in a wannabe bitch band. Probably not, but nobody stopped us. Or maybe they just didn't notice. We were subtle-ish. We left home in our school clothes, the quasi-formal attire, which wasn't yet an actual uniform. We didn't get those till secondary, and changed into the bin liners at the beginning of each break and lunchtime, and back out of them before returning to class. So we persevered with the look. Not sure who among us acquired the bin liners in the first instance. My money's on Justine. She was in a unique position of being both organized and marginally more advanced developmentally than the rest of us. Also, her mother was well stocked domestically, as I recall. The most likely of all our mothers to have bin liners at all in the first instance, and enough of them not to notice if a few of them went AWOL. And we wore it, whenever we could, for an entire term, up until the group combusted following the inevitable fandango over creative differences. This, then, was my first conscious brush with the transforming, liberating, expressive, provocative, inventive, and prematurely slaggy forces of fashion. And it felt sticky. Tribal almost. Rather more grown-up than I was. It felt promising. I wasn't an especially happy kid. Anxious, awkward, felt perennially other, because, oh, who knows why. I wasn't born in small town Devon. I arrived there from Brighton as a toddler. And maybe that was all it took to convince me that I wasn't entirely in the right place. To make me feel as if I didn't really belong. And I wanted very much to belong. Clothes are hugely about belonging, allying. Allying yourself very obviously and blatantly with the group by acquiring the group's unofficial uniform. Hi. Clothes are about being emo because you aren't sportswear, or wearing bin liners because you can't afford, or I don't know, don't understand the major fashion trends of the moment, but you hope you look like you're trying. Pink Ice wasn't an in crowd by any stretch of the imagination. We were mid to low ranking in the prevailing popularity hierarchy at best, but still, it was an A crowd, a crowd to which I belonged, more than partly because I was dressed for belonging. Like I said, I very much wanted to belong. And that's where I'm going to stop for today. Oh, yeah. I mean, that dichotomy of wanting to fit in and stand out, it's interesting. And also nerve-wracking. All right, I'm going to stop there because I need to do the deadline thingy-me-bobs. I'm going to take out my earrings because they're painful. And Twitch and YouTube, I shall see you on Tuesday. Bye.